Hello, everyone, and welcome to Your Money on Purpose podcast. I am your host, Donette Palmore, and today my guest and I will be talking about how financial stress shows up in our bodies and what we can do about it. So let me introduce you to my guest. Her name is Maria Mizzi. She is a certified transformational nutrition coach, weight loss specialist, fitness expert, and life coach. Maria is the co-author of two number one best-selling Amazon books, Passionistas. Did I say that right?
Passionistas.
Passionistas, and inspirational influencers. She is the creator of the Beach Physique Method and the True Transformation program that has helped people create simple shifts in their health and their life. Maria has transformed herself, losing over 40 pounds, getting back her health and vitality following her customized transformational nutritional method. Maria has coached and inspired thousands of women and men, creating permanent changes in their life through transformational nutrition and healthy lifestyle habits. She has over 20 years of experiencing coaching and training clients from TV personalities to entrepreneurs and busy executives, helping them transfer their bodies, mind, and life. That was a mouthful. Maria, welcome to the
Woo!
show, and thank you so much for being here. I am so excited about this conversation. I am kind of a health fanatic. I've been trying to get my health. I don't know if it's ever going to be perfect, but make it the best it can for the last 10 years when I found out, I probably should be doing that my whole life.
Right? Like
um,
finances.
right, right. So, well, let's start off with your money story.
Well, my money story probably starts from when I was a child. I don't think I had control of my money story growing up. And I think that kind of led me into adult years and why I kind of do what I do today. But I think as a child, for me, I really witnessed the not having money really allowed for a lot of sadness, a lot of ill health because we weren't able to afford the things that would keep us healthy. I know a lot of times because of the money story that I grew up with, we didn't live on healthy food, and that kind of caused me to see my mother not be well, my grandmother not be well, and over the years watching that, it inspired me to want to help them get better. But not having the finances or the ability to help them do that, I wasn't able to do that. So over the years, what really I was focusing on was okay, if they did things differently, their life would have been different. So as I started growing up, I said, okay, I'm not going to do things that way. I'm going to attempt to do things differently. So you have to seek, right? You have to start looking for
Yep.
those things. And when you don't have any of that outreach to go to, at my point, I was reading books, I was, watching different things that were coming up. And that started to help me understand that, oh, wait, I don't need to be in this stuck in this lifestyle that I grew up in financially, not being able to afford things, being, afraid to be around people because I couldn't buy lunch when they were, buying lunch.
Hmm.
And I changed the way they did things and made sure that I did things completely different. So when I became more of an adult, I went into doing things that they never thought of. I said, hey, instead of going to work for somebody, what if I created my own job? What if I created something that I like to do? And that's kind of how it started. Now, I didn't not go into a job, an hourly job in the beginning because that's what I needed to do. But I saw early on that, okay, this salary isn't helping me get any further along, right? And that's when I had
Yeah.
started doing small businesses, and that began to help me understand what finance really was.
Wow. So that's an interesting story because we don't realize that our childhood carries things on into our adulthood. And until we sit and say, hey, something's wrong here, something's not right, I can fix this. I don't have to continue on this generational bad, eating habits and things like that. Um, what do you think? Where do you think you kind of made that shift? Where were you like, oh, what were you thinking? Like, this is not the way I want to live. I mean, obviously, nobody really wants to be sick, but that you were like, I can control this, I can fix this in myself and help others.
hmm I remember the exact moment. I remember when that mind switch happens. I was sitting at an event, in this big event, and there was this person standing on stage, and he was telling his story. And I remember him telling his story, and I'm looking at the videos and all the things happening. And it was a mirror of kind of how, maybe I grew up a little bit differently, but the same concept. I kind of saw, at the time, the person I was dating, who's now my husband, he kind of had a similar story. And I remember listening to this story of him saying how I came from this and I did this stuff, and now I'm here, and I have this, and you can do it too. My mind was blown. I'm like, what? I can do this? But nobody ever told me. And I think I was still in my teens, in my late teens. And that was the first moment. And I knew that there was something more for me out there. Did I know how it was going to happen yet? But no, that sparked that vision and never stopped. So that was like 30 years ago now.
Wow, that's amazing. So in your early mid-teens, you went to like a conference or something, and this
Yes.
person's talking and you're like, "Yes, I'm receiving what you're saying and I can do this." I love that. He just gave you that hope and that passion to be able to start that. That's
Yeah.
really cool. So,
Something I never saw. It was a vision that was never in my sight. Like, I always thought I was just going to end up, you follow your family's lineage, which wasn't terrible. But I had a thought that there was more, and then this person confirmed it. And one of the most, transformational days of my life for sure.
I love it. That's a beautiful story. So, on my last podcast, I talked about finances and stress and the toll it takes on our bodies. And I think we don't really maybe put it all together or even
Mhm.
think like, how can financial stress come into my body as sickness? There's statistics about headaches and ulcers and heart attacks and back pain all increasing when financial stress is present. So, I also think that we cannot be healthy and then it also affects the other parts of our lives, right? So we don't feel
Mhm.
good when we're not healthy, so we don't work efficiently, think clearly, our relationships suffer, finances, our physical bodies, and so on. The story goes, right? So do you find this to be
Absolutely.
true? What have you specifically seen uh, with the people you work with?
Oh my gosh. Finances are a huge stressor on our health because I think it's something that no matter what we're talking about, finance has something to do with it in most aspects. To do most anything, if it's something that we're going to do, it does cost money to do that. So, what happens when we start stressing out about not having the finances or the ability or the abundance to do something, that stress affects our whole body. So, we're thinking this, and when we're thinking this, remember that we know this now from science, there's a brain gut connection. So our brain and our body are connected. So the way we're thinking about things, how we're stressing about our finances, we're feeling that in our mental mindset, and that's going into our body. A lot of times I've seen people who have come to me, when they are extremely stressed out and they're feeling anxiety, and that internal anxiety comes from not being able to because of finances.
Wow.
And that we're not even talking about food at that point. I mean, there's a whole other story with finances where if you can't afford to eat the right food, you're not
Hmm.
getting the nutrition you need. So finances goes on the spectrum of health both ways. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's I think it's something that needs to be talked about and realized because food is so important. What we put in our body is so important because our body gets nutrition out of it. And like you said, if we're not able to afford those things, then we're not going to get better. But then we're stressed out because we can't afford those things. And so this whole
hmm
cycle just keeps going. So, what are some ways or some things we can do to combat this?
Yeah, it's starting out simple. If you were dealing with that situation where we're in a financial space in regard to our health and we're not really focusing on that, it's beginning with kind of the simplicities of things. first doing things that don't cost money. And that, what a lot of times I say is just be in the moment of where you are and either think about the situation that you're in, journal about that, and then begin to move forward from it. Like, what is one thing that I could do to change to feel better from that? So, if we're talking about health, for example, health and finances together. So, my finances are low, so how I can't afford to eat healthy. I've heard that many times before. And we want to keep that simple in eating whole foods. So, if somebody, when I grew up, when we didn't have money, I basically had, I remember coming home to those big, huge blocks of cheese, which wasn't really cheese at all. I don't know what it was made of.
Right.
And, cans of food that had expiration dates on them, that were expired. So that was my health many times as a child. Or when we were lucky, we'd get to go to McDonald's. So, that was
Yeah,
the other
that was a
health
treat.
way, right? So that was our treat. But no fault of anybody's. That's all we knew. But today
Right.
we know better. I decided to get more into that information. So what do we do now? Instead of having those poor choices of foods, let's eat whole foods. Let's go and buy foods that we actually have to make, that we have to cook. If we're buying raw foods, fruits and vegetables and meats, and we're making those, then we're able to afford that and eat the good quality food. Now, because you're eating good quality food, you're getting the nutrients that your body needs, so you're not craving the other things. So here's the other thing that
Mm.
happens when we're eating poor quality food, when we can't afford that food. Now we're eating poor quality food, and then we're not getting the nutrients we need. So what happens? We're constantly hungry. We're constantly getting false signals in our body, in our brain. We're getting mad, we're getting frustrated. So food is now just making this spiraled event even bigger, and we're making a mountain out of that because we haven't really focused on the simplicity of eating real food and doing that instead of running out to fast food and grabbing something like that.
Wow. Yeah, that's something to think about. And so how can, if you're on a smaller budget, can you afford these things? Is it cheaper or less expensive to buy whole foods than buy, you know, the chicken nuggets, the frozen stuff or that stuff in the store?
Hmm. Yep, absolutely. There is a way to do it. It's probably, doing a little bit of research, a little bit of education, or working with a nutritionist is a way that would help for sure. And the way you do that is you plan. You have to have, and this is with finances too, right? I mean, it all comes back to planning
Yeah.
sometimes. I find there's two things: we got to plan and we have to make a habit out of it, right? So those are kind of the two cornerstones. So making that plan of how we are going to feed ourselves in within the budget that we have. And that's something that I did for many years, as a grown up. When I learned how to do that, is really living in that budget of, okay, what are we going to purchase, how are we going to eat, and really thinking of, okay, let's focus on 3 days, maybe 5 days, and how we're going to purchase our food. So when we do that and we create a plan, and this kind of gets pretty detailed when I'm working with clients, is we're making sure that we're purchasing things that we're going to be able to use all week. So now there's no
Mm.
waste. We're eating foods that are actually nutritious for our body, that are giving us the nutrients we need, the energy that we need. So then you could go out and you could work to this place that you want to and make the finances that you do want and desire.
I love that. And with that comes clarity of mind, right? It'll
Yes.
the fog gets like lifted because our brain is getting the nutrients we need. And I know when I started meal planning, I was saving like $300 a month on groceries
Wow.
because I wasn't just throwing stuff in the cart. I had a plan. I knew what I was there to get, and I got it. And I know like it's hard to do that stuff sometimes too, right? So what do you recommend?
Mhm.
People are busy and cooking is it can be time consuming, especially when we're cooking, our own food and
Mhm.
having to cut and chop and get all that preparation done. What are ways we can save time to do that?
Absolutely. It comes back to planning that and having a schedule. I'm a really big proponent, especially because I work most often with people who are running businesses who have super busy schedules, is to make sure that you put these things into your schedule. So
Mm,
typically, on I would, not everybody, but most people that I'll start to work with, we will set up a plan where, okay, on Saturday we're going to make a list. We're going to check out what's, what's in the kitchen already, and how is the week going to go, because usually by Saturday, Sunday we know what's going on. So we're able to make a store list of what we are going to purchase for the week. First, we want to do the plan of how we're going to plan our breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the week, and then what we need to buy. Then on Sunday, put it in your schedule. You make a plan to go to the supermarket or wherever you're going, farmer's market, purchase the items you need if that's your day. So, a lot of times people have a little bit more flexibility then. The important thing about making this plan work when you're purchasing food, you making a list, you're going, once you get home, is making sure you start to prepare that food. So now you're
Mm.
eating real food. So when you're eating real food, what does that mean? You're getting a thing of broccoli. Like, it's not, it's, you have to clean that. You're getting a great piece of steak. You want to make sure you have that all ready. So you start to carve things out and cut them up so that they're ready to go for the week. Sometimes it also means doing a little bit of kitchen preparation. Maybe you're going to heat something up. Maybe you're going to make some, rice that's ready to go. So having that prepped, what that will do is it's going to take you about 20, 30 minutes in the beginning to make a list and set up your meal plan. Sunday, you'll go to the store. Typically, once you have a list, you can be in and out of that store less than 30 minutes. It's when you go in with a plan and a list, you just follow that and get out. Then once you get home, as you're taking everything out of the grocery bags, you just make sure you put them in their place. Make sure they're clean, ready to go. Maybe they're going to be in some, glass Tupperware that you have that. So when it is time to eat, or when it is time to make that, lunch to take with you to the office, you have everything ready to go, and it only takes minutes as opposed to thinking about it and not knowing what to do.
Okay, so maybe it's going to take like a day, you need to go grocery shopping, but immediately you got to come home and wash those vegetables and prep it for whatever it is that you've planned for the week. Then you could
Hmm.
just grab it out of the refrigerator, throw it together, and eat.
Yes.
That's
I know
awesome.
it's a new concept these days, but it's actually the old concept. So,
Right?
but it
Meal planning
totally.
and meal prepping.
Right, exactly, exactly. And in our busy schedules, we've just forgot. Like, we started years ago, there was something called multitasking. So we started doing so many things at once, and when we started multitasking, we took ourselves out of the equation. So it's
Mm,
time that we put ourselves back in the equation, and bar none, that means our health and our finances.
yeah, exactly. Um, And so that's going to help you save money as well because went in with a plan. Like I said, I saved over $300 a month.
Amazing.
You're going to avoid, hopefully, not going shopping hungry because then you buy things because you're hungry, but you won't throw
That's
those
right.
things in there, you know. And if you set, a budget for it, like this is what I'm going to spend, then you'll keep track of that so when you're like, I know I used to keep track and had my calculator out to make sure I didn't get up there and say I have to put something back.
Yes.
So that's really awesome. And I think when we start to really become aware of these things in our lives, like you said, to go back to the way that we were, to slow down
Mm,
and take a breath, take a minute, put ourselves back because we can't run efficiently if we're not fueling our bodies efficiently. um, we can't. I always say you can't pour from an empty cup.
mm-hmm.
Again, if we're not feeling good because we're not eating right, then it's going to affect all areas of our lives, even our motivation. I mean, who
Mm-hmm.
wants to get up and try to work out if you're not feeling well? Nobody.
Right. Exactly. And typically, when you're in that mindset, you don't. And when you're in that mindset, you don't even think that way because you're so far, thinking negatively. So when you start giving yourself the food and the nutrients that your body needs, it feeds your brain. And this is what energizes you and gives you the energy and the motivation. So food is kind of like the foundation sometimes for almost everything, right?
Right? Food is fuel. It fuels our bodies so that
Absolutely.
we can do all the things that we want to do and that are important to us and be there. And, you know, I think also having your why, like, why do you want to do those things? And for me, spending the time and the money to get right with my health is more about being able to be there for my children and my grandchildren, to be able to roll around on the floor and wrestle or whatever it is, go hiking and do all those things. That's important to me. My family is important to me. Being able to spend time doing the things that they love to do is important to me. And being healthy is where it all starts.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
So, okay, so what are the two things they can start doing today to get this going, to get on track with their health?
The two things that they can do today is number one is understand where they are. So, what are their current health habits? Okay, and,
Mm,
we can put that in with finances as well. And a great way to do that is just for 2 or 3 days, just write down everything that you've been consuming, what you're eating, what you're drinking, what you're not. Sometimes people find that they're not eating because they're so stressed out and they don't have the money to do that. So, understand where you are because we need to know where we are so we know where kind of we want to head. So figure out where you are, take a look at that, and then say, okay, let's make a list of healthier things. So, first, it's important to have that knowledge. So, maybe kind of taking a look at the kind of foods that you enjoy. So, that would be the second thing that you do, and really kind of swap those out for healthier options.
mm.
Then you're going to have your list. Take that list with you and expand on it, and maybe do a little bit of research, maybe find some Pinterest kind of great recipes, something simple that you can start with. Keep that on your list, check out the budget. And just kind of a side note, that's not a second one, but as you make your list, wherever you go shopping, I also suggest that you look to see if they have any specials that go on. I know that one of the shopping places, stores here, I go to Vaughn's a lot, and there's often a lot of specials that you can work
Okay.
towards. So that'll help you save in your finances as well.
And that will be less stress.
Less, right, less stress. I know, I always do. I sit there on my phone and make sure I see where all their specials and sales are. I think the other day I went and I had went on the app and fixed it up, made sure I had all the stuff. My husband and I went, we purchased like $20 worth of stuff. It was $1.98 because of I went through these coupon
Oh,
things
wow.
at the
Oh,
store.
wow.
So amazing way that you can save money for sure.
Yeah, and food is expensive, and good food can be expensive. And if we can find ways to cut that back so that we are able to do that more often and hopefully then all the time, um, who doesn't want to do that? So
Yeah,
it'll
and it,
not
it takes
just,
no extra time. No extra time. It saves you money.
yeah, exactly. And everything's on an app now. So it's not like we have to go buy 10 newspapers and coupon clip, right? We could just get that
Yes,
on the app and go find out where the sales are. So we can be healthy. And again, it's so important, and that it affects all areas of our lives. And we're all trying to become better. We're all trying to evolve and become better people. And really, it does start with our bodies and our minds and making sure that we get the proper nutrition and stuff in that so that we're able to function in this world, and show up as our best self and do all the things we want to
absolutely, Donette. That's you nailed
do.
it. Perfect. I love that.
So, thank you so much for being here. And if anybody wants more information or wants to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
You can, social media wise, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. You can find me at Maria Mizzi Coach. That's Mariamizzi Coach. And then my website, of course, send me an email. It's mariamizzi.com.
Awesome. And we'll put all that in the show notes for you guys. Thank you all for being here. My name is Donna Palmore, and I am on a mission to empower you to give your money more purpose so you can live your purpose. Thank you for listening to Your Money on Purpose podcast. If you got value out of this episode, I would be forever grateful if you would leave a review and then hit that subscribe button wherever you listen to your podcast so that you never miss an episode. Thank you again for being here, and until next time, remember, money is just a tool that we get to use to live out our purpose.